Good morning. I'm sitting in my office. It's Christmas morning. Merry Christmas. I was in my office the other day. I like to sit in here because it's quiet. And sometimes I like to just sit and think. And I was sitting and thinking and just letting my mind go. And it was peaceful and I was enjoying it. And I happened to just, I remembered an incident or a memory. My husband and I were celebrating our 15th wedding anniversary. We were broke. I don't mean we were low on money. We were broke. It was the early 80s and Michigan's economy was so bad. We had started a new business and it did well until the economy went bad. And then our business, the heating and sheet metal business, also fell because when people don't have excess income, they don't build. And it was our anniversary, and our anniversaries are important to us to celebrate. They always have been, even in the bad times. And we decided that we were going to go out to dinner. And my husband said, "Would you like to go to the Embers?" Well, the Embers at that time was a very lovely, very upscale restaurant in Mount Pleasant, where they have linen tablecloths, linen napkins, very elegant. They have a wait staff. They also have the hostess. They also had the person who poured your water, who attended your table. It was just lovely. And I had always wanted to go there. And I said, "Well, can we afford it?" "Yes, don't worry about it. I'll take you." I borrowed a dress because I didn't really have anything appropriate to wear. I borrowed a dress and I borrowed a pair of lovely high-heeled shoes, which of course always makes me feel special. We got dressed and we drove to Mount Pleasant, and I didn't mention again whether can we afford it or not. And we got to the restaurant and the dining room was full. There were people sitting, people eating. And the atmosphere was quiet, music playing softly in the background, just what you would expect at a very nice restaurant. The hostess seated us, and our table was all the way across the dining room on the other side of the dining room, which meant we walked from the beginning of the dining room to the other side of the dining room. And we sat down, and immediately a young man came to fill our water glasses. And then a wait person came over and set menus before us. It was just lovely. They momentarily left us, and we opened our menus, and I looked at the prices, and I was aghast. And I looked up at my husband and I said, "Are you sure we can afford this?" He said, "Don't worry about it. I've got it. Don't worry about it." And I didn't say any more, and we both quietly stared at the menu. And as I stared at that menu, I kept thinking of how little money we had and what it would really cost for us to eat there. And when the waiter came over to our table, his pad in hand, and said, "Can I take your order?" Without looking up from my menu, I said, "We're not staying." I don't know where those words came from. They just came from somewhere, because at that time in my life, it was all about not making a scene, not doing anything out of the ordinary, certainly not getting up from a table in a full restaurant and walking out without ordering. And my husband just stared at me, and I stood up quickly. The waiter, to his credit, bowed his head and said, "Yes, ma'am," and very unobtrusively left. I stood up quickly, my only thought being, I want to get out of here as quickly and as quietly as possible without drawing any attention to myself or to us. And my husband said, "Well, I just want to get a drink of water." So he took a drink of his water, then he stood up, and the edge of the tablecloth had hooked in his belt. And so when he stood up, the tablecloth came with him, and all the silverware, all the dishes, or everything that was on the table began to move. He quickly recovered and we walked out of there. It was a very long walk across that dining room. We ended up going to a more of a ma and pa restaurant. It was still nice. We had a very good meal. I enjoyed it. And as my husband bowed in prayer before our meal, he said, Lord, thank you for giving my wife the courage to leave that restaurant. That's been many years ago. We are going to be celebrating our 48th anniversary next year. So that was our 15th many years ago, but it's still a memory that we can laugh about. And I look on it as a memory that said, oh my gosh, look what I was able to do. I stood up. For me, that was a big thing. That's a memory I've shared with my children and my grandchildren, with friends. Every memory is a story. Every part of your life says something about you, and they are important. That wasn't an important memory. It's not only a memory or a story that is funny, and it is, but it also says something about us, about our lives during that time. It said something about my husband, that he wanted to sacrifice and give me something special for an anniversary, even though it would have cost us greatly. It says something about me, that I actually did something I would never have had the courage to do before. We sometimes think stories are just isolated incidents. They're not. They're a part of who you are, who you were, and who you become. They are worthy to be treated with such loving kindness. Today, it's Christmas Day. You are going to have memories about Christmas. Talk about them, share them, write down notes. Make those memories a part of your legacy for your family. Your family wants that legacy, and you have a legacy worth sharing. Have a wonderful Christmas, and today, before you go to sleep, make notes about one memory and allow your mind to think about it, and then you'll be ready to share it.